Hey, I'm Jake. Today I'm drawing this, and I'm talking about how to set goals and how to achieve them. Okay, for this piece I wanted to try something a little different. Here's my Photoshop sketch. I like to sketch in Photoshop because you can do stuff that it's just faster and easier than doing in your sketchbook. So sometimes I like to do this. Here's my original design, and I wanted to just alter and change a few things on it. So doing that in Photoshop is a lot easier. You can just cut and paste and move things around. When you're short on time, it's good to go that route. So here's my rough sketch, and then here's my final line over my rough sketch. You can see all the detail there and stuff. And then I thought, I want to do a gradient to this. Add a nice gradient to this illustration. So I added my gradient level right there. And what I'm going to do is print this out and draw over the top of it with real ink and add marker and sort of my shadow and values to it, and see how that looks. And just using the printout as a base. So here we go. The first thing I want to talk about is 2015. I was doing a review on my year this past year and going through my notes and journal entries and to-do lists and trying to see what I actually accomplished this year. And as I look back over it, I realized this was one of my most productive years, and I didn't realize how much stuff I had gotten done until I'd reviewed and looked at everything. So I'm just going to go through and list everything that I accomplished this year, and then I want to talk about what I did to have the most productive year of my career. And it has to do with setting goals, and then it has to do with executing and how you execute to get those things done. So first off, I have them in different categories. The first category is books. Rocket Raccoon, I drew issues 10 and 11. I finished illustrating and writing Littlebot and Sparrow, which is coming out in 2016, in September of 2016. I illustrated a book called Who's the Grossest One of All, and that comes out next year as well. And I also wrote and illustrated a Mouse Guard story for David Peterson's Mouse Guard series. And then my book, The Little Snowplow, came out in October. And what was cool about that book is it made it on the New York Times bestseller list for 4 weeks in a row. Hopefully a fifth week, we'll see. So that's everything on the book front. Next is the School of Visual Storytelling, in which I teach at and I helped found with both Will Terry and Lee White. I did a comics class for that, pretty intensive class on my approach to comics. I think it's 6-7 hours long. We launched and designed a new website for the school, and so I spent a lot of time working on what's the design, the layout, how the website works, the functionality of it, and working very closely with a web developer to get all that stuff done. And then I also did an inking class for SVS. Okay, comic book conventions and speaking engagements and things like that. So I attended and tabled at Emerald City Comic Con, at Denver Comic Con, at Salt Lake Comic Con, and at CTN, which is in Burbank. I went to New York, and while there I did, actually, I wouldn't count that as a speaking engagement, my New York trip. That was more just a visit and meet with editors and talk about future projects. I went to Singapore, and I did a week-long workshop, and I also did a speaking engagement there in Singapore. And I did a speaking engagement at Creative Collaborative here in Provo. I think that's it on that front. Okay, illustration work. I did a cover drawing for Samantha Sanderson series. It's the series I've been doing covers for, so I did another cover there. I did a cover for a book called Patrick Griffin. Patrick Griffin's Last Day on Earth. No, Patrick Griffin's Last Breakfast on Earth. I did cover and some illustrations inside for that. And then I did a cover illustration, this is the back cover, for the SpongeBob annual comic. And then the next section is projects. So Art Drop Day. I did Art Drop Day. I also did art drops in Denver, New York, Singapore, Tokyo, and Utah. And I think that's it for the art drops. Inktober. I did Inktober, full month of drawing, ink drawings every day. I launched and funded the Skyheart Kickstarter. Another project was my YouTube channel, and I did 32 videos. That includes this video I'm doing here. So 32 videos throughout the year. That's 32 episodes. On top of that, I did a bunch of shorter, the Snapchat videos. I'm not counting those. But 32 videos, whether they're art drop videos or these videos like the instructional drawing videos. I printed and I shipped Drawings 2, which was my art book, my collection of sketches and drawings from my sketchbooks. So printed and shipped Drawings 2. And then I filled 2 sketchbooks. That's a little low for me this year. Typically I do more than just 2 sketchbooks, but I still did a ton of drawing, and I did a lot of drawing outside of my sketchbooks, so I'm not too upset about that. And then lastly, social media. I had some huge growth this year, and I did on Instagram, I increased my followership by 63,000, so it went up 63,000 followers. Facebook went up 31,000 likes. YouTube increased to 19.5 new subscribers. 19.5 thousand new subscribers. And Twitter, I gained 5,500 new followers on Twitter. And I'm lumping in with that. I did 129 new drawings that I posted on all social media throughout the year. So 129 drawings, that averages out to a little over every 3 days doing a drawing, posting a drawing, something like that. So that is my 2015 accomplishments, and I'm really proud of it. I'm not saying all this to brag. I'm saying it to show what can be accomplished in a year if you're focused and if you're driven. And I also know that there's people who get way more done than this in a year as well. But on the Jake Parker scale, I'm not comparing myself to others. I'm only comparing myself to past Jake Parkers in past years. This was a good year. This was a year that I want to set as a standard for all other years. So I got to do at least as good as I did this year, if not better. Okay, so that's 2015. And I want you to do the same thing too. I don't want you to compare yourself to me or compare yourself to any other artist. You got to compare yourself to yourself. This is a race only against your own times. If you've ever played Mario Kart, you know how you can race the ghost of yourself. That's who I want you racing. I want you to race that ghost from yourself in past races, and not worry about how fast Bowser's going, and not worry about Luigi. Just worry about yourself, and see if you're doing better than you've done in the past. And you can compare yourself to past years. What I do is I just try to do better than I did yesterday. That's all I'm worried about. Did I do better today than I did yesterday? And it's by doing that kind of stuff, by having that mindset, that you actually start to improve. And it's very little, and you barely even notice the improvement, but it's there when you look back at 300 days in a row of trying to do better. All right, so let's talk about 2016 and the goals you're going to set for this next year, and how you're going to accomplish that and how you're going to do that. So for me, this next year, I have some things I want to accomplish and some things I want to do, and they are to post artwork online, a new drawing on my social media, a new piece 3 times a week. That's what I've been doing last year. I'm going to stick with that because I've got a lot of crazy stuff going on this year, and I know I can manage that and do that. I don't want to set my expectations too high, so I'm going to leave it at doing 3 posts a week. Okay, so there's that. The Skyheart graphic novel. My goal is to finish that in the first half of this year. But I have another goal too that goes along with that, and I want to get a Skyheart book deal. My goal is to do 3 or 4 graphic novels in this series, and the Kickstarter was to fund the first one. But I want to take it to a publisher and get some kind of book deal to do the full book series. So that's my goal, and we're gonna see what happens there. The reason for that is Kickstarter is great. It's good for getting a project started, and it's just that. It's kick-starting. It's starting a project. And I want to work with the publisher to finish and to be with me during the lifetime of this project. Because a publisher can get this book out to so many more people than just my abilities as a self-published author. My Kickstarter has 2,100 backers. That's a lot of people, 2,100 backers. But I want Skyheart in the hands of 1 million people, and there's no way I can do that by myself. I need a publisher to do that. So that's where I'm going with trying to get a publisher on board for this. I just want as many people as possible to read the story that I'm creating. So there's that. This year I also am planning, and my goal is to do 2 children's books as well. I have last year I got a book deal with Macmillan. I guess Roaring Brook Press. It's an imprint of Macmillan, and that was to do Little Bot and Sparrow, which I finished last year. But it was a 2-book deal to do a second book this year as well. So I'm going to work on that book and finish that book, and then I have another book deal that I'm going to work on as well. And so those are my goals there. And then Robot and the Sparrow, it comes out in September, I think, of 2016. Maybe it's fall. I know that for sure. Maybe October. My goal is to get Robot and the Sparrow on the New York Times bestseller list. I don't know how I'm going to do that. I'm going to be talking about it a lot and trying to share it and just get people to buy the book, because it's a book that I'm very proud of, and I've put a lot of hard work and effort into it, and it has a great message, and I know it's something that people will want on their bookshelf, on their coffee table, in their laps, and it's something they want to share with their kids and read with them, and they might even enjoy it themselves as adults. Okay, so there's that. And then lastly, I'm still committed to the svslearn.com school. We've been growing and expanding, and our team's getting bigger, which means I don't have to do as much administrative stuff, and I can do the stuff I'm actually good at, which is teaching. So my goal is to do 4 new classes for the school this year as well. So that is my goals for this next year. And let's talk about how I'm going to get this done and how you can get your goals done for this next year. Here we go. First things first. First thing you got to do is set your vision. What is your vision of where you see yourself? How do you see yourself? Where you see yourself? What do you see yourself doing? And that's really where it starts. You have this vision, and you may think yourself, I want to be a published author. I want to make a video game. I want to put out an album. I want to finally launch that Kickstarter and have a successful Kickstarter. I don't know what it is for you, but you have to figure out what is this thing that you see yourself as being, and that is where your goals are going to come into play. You have to have that vision first, and it has to be pretty specific. It can't be, I want to be successful. It has to be successful in what? So figure that out. Figure out exactly what position you want to be in, what level you want to be at, what you want to have created, and what's under your belt. And once you figured that out, then you can start figuring out the steps to get there. So first things first, figure that out. What's your vision? Second thing is deconstruct that vision. What are the steps that it takes to get there? One thing you can do is contact a person who's in that position, who has accomplished that level, who has done that thing, and ask them, hey, what all went into that? How did you get from where I am here to where you are now? And deconstruct it. And they'll say, well, first thing I did was X. Second thing I did was Y. And then once I was able to get X and Y done, I was able to do Z. And that's what you have to figure out. I can't tell you, because I don't know what your vision is, I can't tell you what those steps are. But that's a key thing, is figuring out those steps and talking to people who have done those things. You may not have to talk to people. You can do your research online, and some people have done blog posts, some people have done podcasts, and have explained how they've gotten to their positions or have accomplished the thing they've done. But you have to figure out those steps. All right, so once you know the steps needed to get to that point, then it's time to set up a daily and a weekly routine for yourself. And that is important. You have to have a reliable routine that you can stick to. And the reason I say daily and weekly is because those are the bite-sized, manageable chunks that I think our brain has a capacity to really understand. A month can pass by, a year can pass by, and it's a little bit harder for me to grasp what I accomplished in a month or what I accomplished in a year without going back through my notes and going back through and looking at things. But I could step back and look at a day, and I could sit there on a Friday and look back at my week, and I could see, oh yeah, I got X, Y, and Z done. I didn't get this done. Let's adjust and make improvements for the next day or the next week. So they're bite-sized, they're manageable. I feel like a month, I feel like a year, I feel like a quarter is really hard for me to grasp without looking at notes and looking at the schedule that I've had for myself. You want something you can really keep inside your head, because a lot of this is based on your I want to say your emotional well-being and your motivation and those types of things. So let's keep it to those daily and weekly bite-sized chunks of your routine. All right. Your routine is going to be one thing, but before you get into that routine, one thing you're going to have to do is cut out all the fat, okay? And by cutting out the fat, I mean you now have, because you have this goal and you have these steps that you know that you need to take, you now have to tell yourself or ask yourself anytime you sit down to do something, is this going to bring me closer to my goal, or is this just pulling me farther away? My wife is really awesome. I wish you guys could all get to know her. And she, we did this lesson with our family. It's about a month ago. We sat down one evening, and she told me, I want you to draw a dog sled and have all the dogs pulling it, but then have an empty space. And I need 3 dogs drawn. I need a dog that's running backwards. I need a dog that's sitting down, doing nothing, and I need a dog that's running forward. Okay, and so what it was is to tell our kids, when you're doing what you're doing there, are you pulling the sled forward? Are you just laying down and we're all having to drag you? Or are you actually pulling backwards and forcing all of us to stop and and try to turn you around. And that's what you have to look at for your individual activities that you're doing. Is this a thing that's going to pull your sled forward? Is this a thing that just is laying down and you're going to have to just work harder to get your sled to move forward? Or is this something that's completely detracting and pulling you away from moving forward on your goals? So what are the things? Here's some of the things that I cut out, some fat that I cut out. Television, I don't watch TV. Video games, I don't play video games. Reading, I don't read a ton anymore. I actually do audiobooks so I can listen to them while I'm working, because I still feel like you need to read, you need to have that information, you need to grow on that level. I just don't have time to sit down and read a book, so I do audiobooks. Some other fats I cut out. Certain interactions or relationships. If there's a thing called vampires, right? And these are people, good intentions, nice people, but they do suck time and life out of you. It takes energy to deal with certain vampires, and so you have to sort of cut out vampires in your life. And these might be bad vampires, these might be good vampires. The thing is when dealing with vampires, you have to deal on your terms. So if you're going to engage with a vampire, know that you're engaging in a situation and on a time scale that is not going to detract from your goals. So they don't suck life, and they don't suck creative energy, and they don't suck time away from the things that you're trying to get done. All right, so that is what I say. Some forms of entertainment, some forms of bad influences as far as people are concerned. And then I also cut out freelance work. Now, freelance work, you'd think, oh, this is good. This is paying you money. You're getting better at what you're doing. But this last year, I actually said no to, if I were to add up the amount of freelance work I said no to, we're in 5 figures of freelance work easily. I just said no, because I knew freelance work would take me away from accomplishing the goals that I set, and that was to do these children's books, to do these personal projects, to launch this Kickstarter. Just this week, I finished my Kickstarter. I got two jobs come through, a full week's full of work at a good day rate, be several $1,000s, and I turned them down because I'm focused on these goals that I've set, and I want to finish Skyheart more than I want more money. Okay, so that's another form of fat. You have to decide, is this project that I'm taking on going to pull my sled forward, or is it going to pull my sled backwards, or is it just a lay down thing? Okay. What else? Okay, so that's cut out the fat. All right. Now, that said, I still feel like you need to have moments and times of recharging. Okay, so what I do is in a week's worth of time that I'm investing into my life and my projects and my goals, I usually take one day out of that week, and it is my day of rest. It's my Sabbath, right? Definition of a Sabbath is typically religiously, it's an abstinence from work, and it's a day for worship. And so what I recommend is you sort of make a contract with yourself, and if you're religious, you make a contract with God that says, I'm going to do 6 days of work. I'm going to work my hardest, but on that 7th day, I'm going to rest, and I'm going to recharge, and I hope that is going to imbue me with the energy needed to do another 6 days of work and of focused activity, right? On that day of rest, here's what I do. I don't think about work. I don't think about my projects. I don't go into my office. I avoid it. I don't do email. I don't do any of that stuff. I completely remove myself from it. And what I do instead is focus on family relationships. I spend time with my family. I focus on relationships outside of my family, friends, things like that. I focus on, since I am religious, I do go to church, and I'm not just physically at church, but mentally I'm at church, spiritually I'm at church. I'm trying to get as much out of it as I can. And what this does is, by giving yourself that break and that rest from your routine, is you come back refreshed, recharged, and ready to go and to hit it hard. When I've done it where I work every 7 days a week, what happens is you start to think on a Tuesday, oh, I just need a little break. And then on Wednesday, oh, I didn't get quite enough break on Tuesday, so I need another break. And by the end of the week, you've taken all these breaks, and you're way less productive than if you had done your break, your day of rest on one full day. So whether you're religious or not, take one day out of your week and make that your Sabbath, where you abstain from work, and you put your focus, your energies, and your efforts, instead of focused in on what you're doing, you focus out on what other people are doing, on things that are completely opposite of what you're working on day in, day out. That way you come back recharged, ready to do it. And I tell you, every morning when I come back into the office to work, I am like so amped, so ready to do this, because I've taken that day to just recharge and rest. Okay, so let's just go back through everything so far. Define your vision of what you want to be, deconstruct it, cut out the fat, take a day of rest, and now let's talk specifically about a daily and a weekly routine. Okay, so here's my daily routine. Number one, when I come into the office, I wish I could say I do this every day, but this is the goal. This is what I'm striving for to do every single day. And lately it's been 4 days out of the week. Some weeks it's 5 days out of the week. But what I do is, before I even turn on my computer, before I even start anything, I sit down and I have 15 minutes of meditation, where I pull out a book, I read, whether it's learning about my craft or learning about how I should tailor my life. But I do something where I read and I fill my mind with some very focused ideals, and I take a minute to meditate. And then when that's through, I sit down and I write, what are my priorities for today? So I make a list, my to-do list. I need to get X done, I need to get Y done, I need to get Z done. Oh yes, I also need to get A, B, and C done. It's taking that minute of focus before you're ever answering emails or you're putting out fires, and just thinking, okay, if I don't get any of this stuff done today, then this day is a failure. If I get this stuff done, it doesn't matter what else I do. As long as I get this stuff done, my day is a success. So have that 15 minutes of meditation. Make your to-do list, and then you can get started on your day. My mornings, I usually devote to creativity. My afternoons, when I'm least productive, I try to devote to more administrative stuff. So if there's something creative I have to do, I'll get right into and start doing creative stuff in the morning. I don't check email. I don't check texts. I don't check social media. I just start working on the creative stuff. That's drawing, that's writing, that's doing something creative. Email, well, I'll then do around lunchtime, or I'll save it for the afternoon, and I'll handle those emails then. The key thing about email is you can check it all day long and keep checking back. Oh, I got another email, I got to reply to that, got another email. What I want you to start doing is focusing all that email attention into one specific time. So say, okay, this half hour is email time. I'm not going to check it before it. I'm not going to check it after it. Then I get another half hour of email time at the end of the day, something like that. But by focusing email time into one chunk, you're able to focus all of your energies on other stuff instead of having to put out an email fire, put out another email fire. And it's just a little bit more effective way to put your I guess energies into the things that need full energy and full attention. Okay, so that's my day. First 15 minutes is meditation, figuring out my schedule, creativity, administrative stuff. Try to do some more creativity after I've taken care of administrative stuff, and then I'll usually try and close out the day with some sort of personal drawing or a little bit more of personal reference input, something like that. And then I cut out and I go home and I spend time with my family, eat dinner, whatever. And then I'll come back usually sometimes at night and I'll work another couple hours at night if I can, if I have the energy, if I have the focus. So after I put kids to bed, after I spend some time with my wife, it's a few more hours at the end of the night for that. Your weekly, so that's your daily routine. Your weekly routine, usually what works for me is I devote a certain project or I devote a day to one certain project. So if I'm doing YouTube video, okay, YouTube videos are going to be on Fridays. If I'm doing school stuff, okay, school stuff is going to be on a Thursday. All right, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday is creative book projects, whatever. I'm going to devote this full day to this. I'm going to devote this full day to that. Or maybe you set it up in half days. So I'm only going to devote half day to this project or half day to that project. If you have a full-time job and you're doing this at nights, then you say, okay, Monday nights is this project, or Tuesdays through Thursdays is this project. But what you do is you plan out your week so that you get in this routine where, okay, every Friday I'm going to be working on this, and your body gets used to it and your mind gets used to it. And every Tuesday I'm working on this, and that's one way to get yourself more into this zone of productivity and creativity, when you know that that's what's on the schedule and that's what you're planned for. All right, so there's that. Last thing is a global to-do list. So you have your daily to-do list, but you also need a global one, and this is everything that you ever have to do. When something comes in and you realize, oh, okay, I got to deal with that, but I can't deal with it today. I got to deal with it next week. Put it on your global to-do list, and then every morning you read through that global to-do list and you realize, oh, this is something I need to take care of today because it's due tomorrow, something like that. Okay, so just to review, your vision, figure out your vision, deconstruct it, set yourself a daily and a weekly routine so you know, okay, if I need to finish this thing by March, then every week I need to spend this many days doing it. And then on your daily routine, you know, okay, today it's working on this and it's working on that. You need to cut out all the fat, and then you need to set aside one day as your day of rest. And when I say cut out the fat, you need to cut the fat out of your, I'm just going to go back to this, cut the fat out of your routine, your creative time. You can have fat on your day of rest. You know, that's your day to recharge. That's your day to catch up on your TV shows. That's your day to build relationships with people. That's your day to spend time with vampires. That's all that stuff. But if you're going to be productive throughout your week and get stuff done, you need to have a very lean, fat-free week. Okay, so cut out the fat, have your day of rest, have your morning 15 minutes of focus and to-do lists, and stick with your daily routine, stick with your weekly routine, and then don't forget your global to-do list. And I want to say that's it. That's how you're going to accomplish your goals this year. When I look back at 2015, that's how I got everything done that I had to get done. I'm not saying I'm perfect. There were weeks that were big screw-ups. There were days where I didn't get anything done. But the main thing to remember is you got to do better today than you did yesterday. And if you just remember that, if you just think, okay, today I can do a little bit better than yesterday. I screwed up on that thing. I wasted time on that. I'm not going to do it today. You will see improvement over time. And I promise you that will happen. You can and you will accomplish your goals. You'll accomplish what you set out to do. All right, that's it for today's video. I'm curious what your goals are for this coming year. Let me know in the comments what you want to accomplish this year, and also what you plan to do to accomplish those goals. Like, I want to know what your strategies, what your tricks are for maybe day to day or week to week, what you do to accomplish your goals. So let me know, and before I go, here's a word from Calvin. One more time.
Subscribe to my dad's YouTube channel.